Let's get it.
Richie?
Richie, yeah. I had a teammate, Richie Incognito.
That's what I was wondering.
Reminds me a lot of this guy. I just keep pushing him to be more like Richie every day. So he's doing a good job.
Derek, do you want to play Saturday night?
Yeah, I mean, I think I would like to. I think just getting out there and just hearing Clint's voice in the helmet, calling plays, getting the substitutions in and out. I think that'd just be good for our, us as an offense. We're not going to. How the preseason goes. It's very basic stuff, very, very easy, simple. You don't want to show anything, all that kind of stuff. But even with that said, you're not game planning the team. I haven't seen any film, so you need to go out there and play. But I think just the operation and just getting in and out of the huddle with each other, getting used to it, getting back in that swing, I think hopefully you knock some of that game day kind of rust off before you really get to the regular season.
We've talked about your philosophy on that in the past, and you were comfortable with not doing a lot of it. And then last year, you had that great drive.
Yeah.
But I mean, did you walk away from last summer, September, thinking maybe more would have helped or anything like that?
I think every year is different. I really do believe that. I think last year it was nice to get out there and see the stadium for the first, be in front of the fans like that, all that kind of stuff. And I think you've already done that kind of stuff. I think. Now it's just more like the operational stuff. It is a new offense. I guess coming from my past, at Gruden, I mean, still to this day, he could tell me a play and I can go out there and run it. We were just on such a same page that part of it we didn't need to do. And really in the preseason, the way we played, we weren't even doing what we were gonna do in the regular season anyway. So. I think it's just different, But again, this year is new, and it's new for everybody. It's not just new for me. It's new for everybody. So I think, especially when it's new for everybody, hopefully we can get out there and just get a couple, whatever that looks like. I don't know what DA is thinking, whether we are or not this game or whatever. But at some point, you just hope to maybe go get a few.
Derek, the coaches have talked a lot about yards after catch. Just with these guys as skill players, do you think there's a lot more you guys can get out of that, and how much does it help you when there's just more space and they can pick some stuff up with their feet?
Absolutely. I think Coach Dub always talks about it starts with a mindset. That every time we all know guys in the NFL where if they catch the ball, like, oh man, they could score, right? And I think with our guys, we have guys like that, and so man. And you guys have seen them, like how they're finishing, and the burst that they have after this. They're not just satisfied with making that catch. Their expectation is now I got to go make somebody miss. And usually at that level, you make one guy miss, then it's a touchdown. And so, I think that it starts with the mindset. And two, as a quarterback, it's exciting because you throw a 5-yard route, you throw a 10-yard route over the middle, and boom, all of a sudden it's 40, or boom, all of a sudden it's 60. And those kind of plays just break a game open. And so. For us, we have the guys that do it, and I just love their mindset. Dub is on them about it, and they've come in with that mindset of they're trying to score every time they touch it. And it's not just the ones, it's the twos, the three, everybody. Everyone has that mindset, and so you can tell when they're doing that, everyone's bought into it. So hopefully that leads to some big plays for us this year.
Derek, how do you see this line progressing? Because obviously you need to be out there a little bit in the preseason. You want to be out there with them and get that chemistry going too.
Yeah, I would say this. I've been so impressed with how fast it's a different system, right? Especially protection-wise, there's different things, different calls. I've been so impressed with how fast they picked it up, and I've been really impressed with the execution of it. We've had a few things. There was it wasn't the 2-minute drive we wanted today. They finally got us. I'll say that. Cam's always talking crap about these competitive drills. They finally stopped us. I think we're up 7-1. I don't know if that's the right count, but I'll just stick with it. But they got us today. But what you're saying is you see guys really trying to do things the way they're taught, because if everyone does it the way they're taught, it usually ends up right. And so again, these coaches have such a system that it takes everyone being on the same page. And so the more reps we can get being on the same page and doing it, live bullets, all that, I think it'd be just a good thing.
What's been your impression of y'all's pass rush as far as camp?
Really good. Yeah, really good. I think that not just interior, but on the edges too, everybody, and guys moving, doing different things. We have so many guys that are versatile. They can do different things. Not all guys can go inside. Not all guys can just go outside. We got guys that can do both, and that creates a lot of problems. As just an offensive-minded guy for protection issues. And so I've been really impressed with the pass rush. I mean, just what they've shown, and but I've also been equally impressed with our line picking them up. They've given me, as you guys seen, great opportunities all camp for some deep shots, for some big plays and things like that. But the one thing you see is it's back and forth. Our whole camp has been back and forth, offense, defense, even period to period, and that just shows the competitive nature of our team. And so I've really seen that in the O&D line, but I've been really impressed. And, you see Chase Young just walk out here and you're like, I see why he was a top 5 pick, him just walking out to practice. And, he's very impressive when he comes out here and, his get off, his motor, all that. But he's even better person. I just have found, just being here, that that's how the Saints do things. They get good players, but they're also really good teammates. And, you appreciate that just as a player.
Derek, what's one or two on your list of favorite things about this offense after that heavy volume, even in the last 2 weeks since we last talked to you?
I love the run game. There's some things in the run game that the way that they teach things and say things that I haven't heard before. And that's I'm not saying this to be funny, but it's like I got a lot of offenses that I've been in. I've been in a lot of different offenses. I've been in some offenses that have won Super Bowls, but some of the certain details on everybody's plate, like all 11 guys, is really, really cool. And, we can all look back to this history of this offense and see like guys that ran the ball well, and you're like, wow, now it makes sense. You're like, oh wow, that makes sense. So that's been impressive. The play action game, the way that they call the game too. Like we've had some mock like drive kind of things, and they're just without getting detailed. But there's some things that Clint does where you're like, man, as a quarterback, you're just like, wow, thank you. That's really cool. So for me, I've just been impressed, with the operation, but really that run game, play action. I mean, it all looks the same for the first 4 to 5 steps, and in NFL football, that's an eternity. So it makes it really hard on defenders. So it's been cool to see.
Alvin used a word that made a lot of sense to me to describe it. He said intentional. He said everything seems very intentional. Is that rarer than we would think in an NFL offense?
It is. I would say this, and it's going to sound crazy when I say this, but the most impressive thing about our offensive coaching staff is that every single voice is saying the exact same thing, believes the exact same thing, and they're all into it. And so you can take, it's crazy to think that would be impressive, but that is an impressive thing. That, like, from this guy to that room, they all see it and say it the same way. So there is no gray area. Like today, if I miss on a step, I'm gonna get called out. Derek, you got to be on that step because he's expecting to hit it here. It's like, and it's that intentional, that intense every day. And as a player, you appreciate that because you're held to such a high standard, and you just try and meet it every day.
If that run game is where you expect it to be, where you all want it to be, how much does that help you do your job as a quarterback?
I think that with this offense, that everything is off of that. So we got to establish that. We got to be able to do that. Kind of like I said last year, when I turn my back to the defense, they got to believe it, and then when I pull it back, it just helps the routes, it helps Chris, you don't have a linebacker, biting down on the run, rather being in the window and having to try and throw it over and to make that perfect throw, and then it's tipped, it's picked, it's easier when he's, in the A-gap and you can just throw it normal. All of that stuff works together, and so, yeah, we definitely want to get that, started.
Derek, what changes for you when you have 2 younger backups? Does anything?
I've always, so Matt Schaub, when I first came into the league, I had Matt Schaub, Trent Edwards, Matt McCoy. All of those guys were unbelievable teachers, unbelievable helpers, especially Schaubby. Like he, I remember in games, I would do something, the coach would be like, you can't do that. He's like, no, you told him during the week. And so like for me, when I, like last year with Jake or, this year with both of them, man, I just try and pour out every bit of knowledge, every single thing, that just, I really believe this, that some things you gain by working hard, some things you just gain by inheritance, and the fact that they came here, man, I'm just trying to give as much to them as I can so that when they go out there, they can just be the best players they could ever be. And so, they're already both super talented. It's going to be really fun to watch them play in these games. They've been today was awesome. Watching them make some of these throws was awesome. But, just the mentality, keeping even keel, because I was an emotional person. We got 2 guys that like to get excited too, so you try your best to stay the same for a long season, long game. So I just try and pour into their life, man. I just help them as much as I can, as much as I can give while I'm still trying to do my job.
Derek, it seems like Chris Olave has been relied on a lot just with so many receivers hurt.
Yeah.
How do you think, this being your second training camp with him, that he's kind of handled the maturity and growth to like the true number 1 receiver with Mike now gone?
Yeah, I think just different this year is like with Mike was coming off the injury last year, so there's still like some gray area. How's he feeling? What do the reps look like? Who's getting this route? Who's getting this route? All that kind of stuff. Whereas this year, like, Chris knew coming into off-season and into camp, he's the guy. And so I think just that alone took out some gray area for him. Like, what is my role? What routes am I going to be running? Like, every time he sees a play, he's like, yeah, I know what I'm running. I know where you want me to be, And I think for him, that eliminates the gray area, and that eliminates any kind of indecision. Like, he's like, I got to run my best route all the time now. I got to be on my stuff. And you guys have seen him. Like, he's working. He's working really hard, and he's grinding, through it. And even with all, the guys that have been hurt or whatever, he's stepped up and said, I don't care if everyone knows the ball's coming to me. Just keep throwing it to me. And so, I think just that mindset alone. I think the position that he's in now is just different than, I guess, the position we were in last year.
Derek, is this your 6th offense?
It'll be a soundbite if I can stand up here and count. I'm not sure. It might be 7. 7 or 8. I'll count after this.
What's it like? What's it just like when you're starting over in a new one? Just like, what is it? Yeah. What's the process like?
So I've learned a lot on how to do that. Every day at practice. The main thing for me, I'll say it this way, is reps. You got to get reps. You got to say it. You got to say it. You got to see it. You got to do it. You got to draw it. You got to do all that kind of stuff. And so I do a little drill every night before I go to bed on that stuff that I need to go on that day. And I've been doing it since the off season. Doing off-season training camp, and then I come out to practice, and I run through the practice beforehand. So what it was practice 13, so for me it's practice 26. Like I just more reps, more intention. Come out to walk through. I'm working on other stuff when we don't have to be doing anything. I'm working on a different part of our offense, just so I'm getting all those reps. And I feel like we can put on a piece of paper, okay, this is the reps we're going to get, and you kind of trust in that as a player. But the reality is we need to be farther ahead than that. And so for me, I just took it upon myself to just make sure I just try. Told you I was going to do everything I can in my power to, for our city, for our organization, that it is a new offense, but that I'm ready to go, from the get-go. And so that's just some of the ways that I've been trying to do it this year that maybe have been a little different than my past.
Derek, when you're talking about everybody, where you might not be able to answer this question, but when you're talking about every coach being like same voice, same page, is that all coming from Clint? Is that like kind of top down?
I think it's they all come from a system that's just like when it got birthed. This is everyone's on the same page. This is the run game. This is what the wideouts do. This is what the quarterback should do, and it was taught that way. And so everyone I think that has come from that, just if you've come from that, when as soon as you get in the room, yep, that's how it's taught, and that's how you do it. And I've been in rooms where there's different philosophies, and then you're trying to figure out, okay, well, what's the best one for us? And it's like there is no gray area on what our philosophy is with the coaches. Like as a player, as a veteran player, it's just nice to see every coach on the same page, and so when everyone's rowing in the same direction, you're going to eventually get there, and hopefully we get there fast. But just as a player, you just appreciate that because that's not always the case.
Thanks, Eric.
Good. Yeah, appreciate it.